Ready to go? I think so. All right, call the meeting to order. It's 6:03. Item number 2, adjustments to the agenda. I gave you a little slip of paper right in front of you. We're going to strike item C under new business, executive session to discuss labor contract negotiations. There's nothing to update at this time. I also made a recommendation to Gerard here that we also strike the second executive session for the annual evaluation of the superintendent, since we don't have the full board here, especially the board chair. If you guys are okay with that, we'll strike that for now and table it for next time. Unless there's something you really need to talk to me in executive about, then we can keep it. And then under new business, we'll add a new item C, and we'll call it MSAD33 bullying policy. That's my mistake. Okay. Item 3, period of public participation on the agenda of this item. I don't think we have public participation. None. Okay. Moving on to item 4, approval of minutes of the meeting 1042, November 9, 2020. Need a motion to approve the minutes. Josh, second. Alex. Any discussion? All in favor? Approved. Approval of the financial statement. Approval of the November expenditure report. Need a motion to approve the expenditure report. Second. Lena, second. Josh was first. Josh was first. Lena, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay. Under B, 2019-2020 audit reports presented by the auditors. So we have Giselle McDonald, who is here Zooming with us, and I'm going to turn it over to Giselle at this time to make the presentation.
Okay, thank you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Giselle McDonald. I'm with Felch & Company. We've been doing the audit for a long time, but this is the first time you've seen me present the audit. Please don't hesitate to ask questions as I'm going through this if you have any. I usually start towards the back of the report. It's an item that's called Schedule 1, the budgetary comparison schedule. It's about 3/4 of the way towards the back of the report. And it should say Schedule 1 in the upper right-hand corner. It's after the notes and disclosures. Everybody find it okay, or should I keep going? It looks like there's still some pages flipping over here. Okay, I'll get started. This shows a comparison of the budgeted revenues and expenditures to the actual for the year. It's prepared primarily on a cash basis and shows the budget as it was originally presented, and if there were any amendments, it indicates a final budget. We knew of no amendments during the year, so the original and final budgetary amounts are the same. You had a total budgeted revenues of $3,482,000 compared to actual revenues received of $3,695,000 for a favorable budget variance of just over $213,000. For expenditures, you had a total budgeted expenditures of $3,907,000 as compared to actual expenditures of $3,711,000 for another favorable variance here of just under $200,000. This resulted in an overall reduction in your fund balance of just $15,000, which was a $409,000 favorable variance as compared to the budget, bringing your fund balance from $2,058,000 down to $2,042,000 for the year. Adult ed, there was just the $1,000 expenditure as it was budgeted, bringing the fund balance down by the same. Any questions on that one? Okay. Then we're going to move towards closer to the front of the report. You're going to see various exhibits that are labeled in the upper right-hand corner. I'd like to start with Exhibit D. It's the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Probably about a third of the way in, if you look at it from that perspective. This is showing the fund financial statements, the revenues and expenditures on a modified accrual basis. We're recognizing revenues as they're earned and expenditures as they are incurred, but still just current financial resources. We haven't brought in any long-term debt on the balance sheet or any fixed assets. Those items are shown as expenditures in this version of the report. The total governmental funds, you had a total revenues of $4,311,000, total expenditures of $4,222,000 for a net increase in your fund balance of $88,500, bringing it up to $2,083,247. This was made up of various funds, your regular program, your adult ed, the school lunch program, and then the other grants that the town receives from the feds and from the state. Any questions on that one? Okay. Move forward one page, or I should say backward one page, Exhibit C. This is the balance sheet for the governmental funds. It's showing the cash assets and the liabilities that will be due within 1 year, together with the fund balances and showing the commitments and so forth. So the district had total assets of $2,302,000, most of which was cash and certificates of deposit at banks. There was a smaller amount due from governmental agencies that is primarily grants and other revenues that come from the state of Maine. There were total liabilities of $219,000. The bulk of that is the contracts that were payable to teachers and other employees that are under contract as of June 30th. The fund balance amounted to $2,083,000, of which $2,083,000, of which $1,044,000 was unassigned or uncommitted or unrestricted. And most of that being in the regular program or the general fund. Any questions on that one? Okay. The third presentation of this information is shown on exhibits A and B. If we flip towards the front, another page, we'll get to exhibit B. This is called the Statement of Activities. And it is, again, revenues and expenses, but this time it's on a full accrual basis. So we're bringing in fixed assets as assets on the balance sheet and recognizing a charge for depreciation on those assets. We are also recognizing long-term debt as a liability on the balance sheet and only recognizing interest as an expenditure here, or expense rather. So the format of the report is such that we start with expenses, and the first column is the total expense of $4,461,000 before it is offset by specific revenues that apply individually to each department. So we have charges for services of $49,734. Those are the fees that are charged for the school lunch. Then we have grants and other similar type contributions of 618,000, and resulting in a net cost for these departments of 3,793,000. This net cost is offset by general revenues, which total 3,828,000. The lion's share of that is the federal and state aid. It says federal and state aid, but it's the state subsidy that you receive, and also the property taxes that come from the towns, the participating town, 987,000. The change in net position here is 35,000. It shows an increase, bringing it from 5,788,000 up to 5,824,000. Any questions on here? Okay. Then we have Exhibit A, if you flip back one more page. This is where we combine the entire district and report it as though it was a business in one column. So we still have assets. The cash assets are showing for 2,077,000 for a total current assets of 2,407,000. And we add in the capital assets, so the buildings, the buses, the equipment, the other assets that are being depreciated. You've got various equipment in the schools. The total cost on those assets is 8,947,000, which has been offset by charges for depreciation of 5,244,000. This depreciation is strictly an accounting term. It doesn't mean the asset's worth less. It's just a way within the accounting principles to recognize that cost of those assets on a pro rata basis for the life of the assets against income, bringing the total assets up to $6,110,000. Those assets are offset by liabilities. We have current liabilities of $202,000, and we have a long-term liability. It's called the net pension liability, and this is a result of the district's participation with Maine PERS, what used to be called the Maine State Retirement System. We get that from some reporting that is done by Maine PERS. It represents the district's share of the liability. If that pension fund were to be dissolved, that's what would be owed to fund future retirement. That is shown, net position is the resulting factor here for 5,824,000, of which 2,073,000 is unrestricted. Any questions on that one? Okay. And since I started from the back and moved towards the front, the last thing I'll mention is the audit opinion near the front of the report. It is, I'm happy to say it's a clean opinion. The financial statements are fairly stated. I also want to thank your staff, Lucy and Jackie, and the other staff that we worked with. They were all very helpful in getting us the information that we needed. And I'd like to take this time to thank them.
I think they're smiling underneath their masks, so I think it's good.
It's hard to see that sometimes.
Zell, we thank you very much for this presentation, and we appreciate your work.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Anyway, item number 6, Superintendent, DOA news and updates.
Yep, so I have a few updates for you. The first is just a general update that the DOE pushed out last week with face mask guidance. They put out some new guidance with regards to mask breaks in school. Now that mask breaks are primarily being held indoors due to the weather, they really want to press upon that we're making sure that students are stationary when they're having a mask break. So again, mask break, students can take the mask off, ensuring for 6-foot distancing between students when it's happening. This is especially important during meal times and snack times. We want to make sure that students are, as best that we can, facing in one direction at mealtime, not facing each other. Even though that 6-foot distance is there, we'd like to have them at least, sitting, facing the same direction or parallel directions, not across from each other. Stationary when mask breaking to the best they can. We don't want students up and around moving, even though they have that 6-foot radius. So that guidance went out. I say last week, is probably the week before that we kind of pushed that out to staff and said, let's make sure that we're really adhering to that. Another update is the required quarantine. The CDC did update their guidance on required quarantine. They moved it down from 14 days to 10 days, and they'll allow for a 7-day quarantine with a negative test. Our school nurses met with Dr. Roberts, discussed that change, and they were in consensus that they would like to keep the 14-day quarantine for our students and staff right now during the holiday season, just because we really know that there were some numbers that increased, and after the holiday break, there's a little concern that might happen again. So we're going to continue with the 14-day quarantine for our schools for this time, and then revisit at the end of the quarter, which is the end of January, and then see where things are at that time. Another update that came out today, there will be some new guidance coming out tomorrow from the DOE, and there's 3 things that they're going to be adjusting the guidance for. One of them is for ventilation on buses. Right now, the guidance for buses says a window shall be open in the front and a window shall be open in the back to allow for proper ventilation. It was -2 real feel today, so I don't know that we would be opening our bus windows according to that guidance. So they're supposed to be coming out with some new thoughts and ideas about that. So we're anxious to see where that sits. They also have an SOP for a hotline now when there is a positive case in school. In the past, you had to kind of scramble to get a hold of the school nurse consultant. Now there's a hotline. So our school nurses have the hotline. You dial that one number. Even if they're not there because they're helping somebody else, you leave your message and then they call right back. So it's a one-stop shop for that as well. There's also some guidance on band. They're calling extracurricular band. If you want to offer band extracurricularly, similar to your sports, they're going to come out with guidance on how to do that. Right now, the band guidance is really restrictive for in-school band. No woodwind instruments, no brass instruments. And basically, you're limited to percussions, so that we're not spreading any of the virus through respiratory means. But with the extracurricular, they're going to open that a little bit. They're talking about having masks with slits so that you can put your woodwind instrument over your mouth and putting a bonnet on the saxophone or whatever instrument so that it's capturing any droplets that might be coming out of the other end. And then there has to be some sort of high level of ventilation. I don't know if that's going to be something that Mr. Michaud Charles will look into, but we'll provide the guidance and see where things are with that. I have had contact with a few of you regarding what's the plan for coming out of Christmas break. We've scheduled a meeting with Dr. Roberts. It's scheduled for the 28th of December, where we're going to take a good close look at the numbers, the case counts coming out of the holiday season, and looking at that point in time, and make a determination at that time whether or not we feel going back into a green model, full instruction at that time is the right call, or staying in a hybrid, or moving to remote learning. And we will look at it community by community, school by school, as we saw in what recently happened with SAD27. That spike in cases was really restrictive to that community, which we felt very confident didn't need to be done here. as we looked at what was happening in Frenchville, St. Agatha, and even in Madawaska. The concern with why we moved to remote in 27 was that positive cases did have children in school, and we know that effect, obviously would lead to a possible school exposure. The contacts did not lead to believe that was happening here as well. So all is good. I know there was some suggestions made. I had a really nice email from a mom in the district here making a great suggestion, and Casey had shared with me a similar suggestion that maybe we look at extending the Christmas break just to allow for things to settle down. I think with the way we have the models in place, if there is a concern to move to that remote model for a time being, is the solution we probably prefer. Just because if we remove, let's say, if we add a break to Christmas, let's say another week, and take away a February break, that makes a really long stretch from when people come back in school in January and go all the way to April break. That becomes almost a 15, 16 week stretch, and I don't know that people would be able to go that long. So we're going to take a look at it on December 28th and make an informed decision based on what the numbers are then, and then inform all of you what we think is best. Do you have any questions about that? I feel like every day since March, I get up and I walk into work and I don't know what's going to happen that day. And it almost feels like we're getting good at it, and I don't like that feeling. I want to be on my toes. As we were getting ready for this meeting, literally minutes before you all walked in, we just pushed out another notice to the SAD 27 families about another positive case. So things are really happening really quick, and we have to be on the ball. So it's great to have Dr. Roberts and Northern Maine Medical really helping us, helping our school nurses. I feel our school nurses are really rock stars right now. They are, really watching all of the updates from the DOE, speaking and reaching out to the contacts, reaching out to Dr. Roberts as much as they can, and it's really become a really nice team. So I feel really good. Even when I speak to my superintendent colleagues in Aroostook County, I get a sense that there are some that have the connections with their local hospitals and some do not, and that you can tell the ones that do not really are missing that connection. So I'm glad we have. That's what I have for DOE news and updates.
Hybrid learning update.
So I did want to allow Mr. Fantasia and Ms. Hollowell just talk to you briefly about how hybrid learning has been over the past week or so. Not a huge big change in Dr. Levac Elementary School. As you know, we're bringing the kids in 4 days a week, which is wonderful, because we have the space. And I don't want to make it sound like that's been very easy. We met with curriculum leaders today, and that is challenging for the teachers that now have 2 classrooms that they need to monitor because half their classes are across the hall. But we've had some great support from our ed techs in making that happen, and also with Wisdom moving on the cohort model, the A days and B days. So I'd just like to let them talk briefly about how things are going, and Mr. Lovell as well.
Things I think are going as well as can be expected. They all, the staff and students have adapted to this well. And it is a struggle. The 3 classes we had to split were kindergarten, 4th, and 6th. Those were the only classes that we could not safely distance at least 6 feet between students. The teachers took out tables, they took out other things in the room so they could make that distance. The transformation, that building on Wednesday was amazing, and the work that they did, and along with the ed techs to support that. Grade 6 has already been doing Zooming with their remote students, so she's now just Zooming into another room also with ed tech supporting. Grade 4 is going back and forth, and so is kindergarten. They're following the same, they're following at Monday and Friday in one room, and Tuesday and Thursday in the other room to follow the guidance of our school nurse. I think some of the struggles have been that The specials are all had to get moved around a little bit to take away anyone that has special on Wednesday now, we have to readjust all that. So I think that there's less playing time for the teachers. They understand that like tomorrow, there'll be the whole day to do PE and playing, but it still makes for some long days for them. The kids are doing well. We've changed the dots on the floors to make them 6 feet apart. We've changed the playground around a bit. Luckily, there's snow to play with everywhere you go, so it's not, the equipment isn't as vital, but I'm extremely impressed with the staff, the parents, the students on how they're adjusting to this, and we hope it lasts this long, not this long. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
I have to say that the hybrid was the 6 different bus models we had put together this year because of all those staggered starts and with the elementary and during harvest and so forth. But we've got it so that we've got our seat numbers down to 20 students roughly per ride. We had to get creative with our drop off and our pickup points because just to try to keep those numbers low. Hybrid at Rhythm had a staff meeting yesterday, and for the most part, they were relieved because I think there's a lot of fear and trepidation about how we would do this. And when we went to it, it went off pretty much without any major hitches, other than a couple of Zoom links kind of petering out before they were supposed to. We had one student who was supposed to be in today with the cohort, got mixed up, but instead of not showing up for class, they remoted in responsibly. So we've had very little issues with students not showing up. They're following the bell schedule, which is positive, and it's been different, but I think it's where we've made it very manageable at our building. Questions? I also want, before Mr. Level has over, we were able to working out with the tech because he's got fewer numbers here. Our technology students in the morning and the afternoon were given the opportunity to come here all 4 days of instruction. So I want to say all but one student in the high school has taken them up on that. So they're still remoting in for their morning or afternoon classes, but they're coming to tech 4 days a week. So that hands-on. Great.
With that being said, that has been an advantageous process for the students because they want to physically be here and do hands-on. For those that are able to do a hybrid model where 1 day in and 1 day out, they'd like to be here all the time, but I just can't accommodate it at this point. And Fort Kent is chomping at the bit to be back from a remote learning. We're anxiously awaiting for them to be here. I know some had asked, could we still go if we take our own vehicle? And I said, I'm sorry, because for the safety, because there was active cases, we did not want to compromise that process, so we kept them fully remote. But right now it's going well. Just anxious for the time that we can be all here all the time. We're doing the best we can with what we get. And if you want help for the most part, that's helpful.
Can I say something? Just the 3 administrators, as a parent and a board member, if you could just let your staff know that we appreciate them tremendously for everything that they've done for us and for the students.
Linda, how's your experience this time versus last spring as a parent?
Well, right now I have a second grader and a pre-K, so they haven't really been affected other than that Wednesday. But so far it's been an off day. So. Yeah.
I think all the parents here are elementary parents.
Yes.
My child is in one of the rooms that got separated, and that was a big adjustment for him because his teacher this year is his favorite. It's just like, are you serious? I'm a teacher? I'm like, well, not forever, so fingers are crossed.
Yes. And it should be with them 2 days a week.
Yeah, and he was excited about that, very excited. So it's going really well.
We're getting a lot of feedback. We've now presented to all 3 boards, and we've spoken to staff before all 3 meetings, and even speaking with parents, and being a parent myself, this this is working much better than last spring. Even for 27, that's on a remote plan. It's following your schedule. That's the biggest difference than what it was last spring. So it's following that schedule, and you know, the kids know exactly the expectations. So knock on wood, we don't go to a remote in 33, but if we do, I feel confident that it's going to be a lot better than it was before. So let's stay where we are.
I'd echo exactly what Leanna and Casey said as well. My kids are 2nd and 4th grade, and they're adapting very well. And also, as a parent and board member, I do want to say that I think the community and everybody sees what the teachers and administrators are doing, the students and the staff and everything else, and it doesn't go unnoticed. I know these times are trying and tough, but we can see the hard work that each administrator is doing as well as the staff. It's not easy. I just had to take care of 3 kids, and sometimes I get overwhelmed. So.
Well, my kids never went to school, so I really can't. But I see the changes that happened quickly, like overnight. And people, the parents, the teachers, the administrators adapt to it quickly. And it's very impressive. You're all doing a good job.
One thing that the superintendent, so I'm the Aroostook County president, so I get to sit down on the president meetings every Thursday with all the different county superintendent presidents. And one thing that they were sharing last week is that the biggest difference now is districts are making decisions for themselves of what's best for their community, versus last spring it was kind of like the state saying, put the brakes on everyone and treating everyone the same. And I think parents are more understanding when it's about your community and about what's best based on what's happening in your community. So I think that that's the right approach. Absolutely.
Comments? Item C, CRF2 reallocation.
Yeah, so the day before Thanksgiving, we got a surprise in our email that a new bonus round of CRF2 became available. When we had applied for CRF2, the original CRF2, there was a one-liner in that application that said, if more money becomes available, would you like to take advantage of this funds, and how much would you request? And we just put some random figures, you know, for this district, we had put $75,000, thinking we can get that, that would be great, and sure enough, we got it. So over Thanksgiving break, we were brainstorming of ways we could spend that money, because we had 2 days. We had Monday and Tuesday. We had to submit by Tuesday, December 2. We had to have that amount in. So I gave you a summary of what we quickly put together. It's this application that you see in your packet. Just real quick, individual art supplies was one of the smaller projects that we put in there. We did a collaborative seat furnishings project for the center here. An interactive display project. We were able to secure some interactive display boards for Dr. Levac Elementary School for all the classrooms. If you have a chance to sneak up to one of these classrooms here on your way out, there is one of those displays in every classroom here. They're amazing. Touch screen, you know, and it's going to be great for interactive learning in the classrooms. Shared office space and equipment for administrative staff. So we were able to get some equipment for our central office here. We were able to secure a new camera system for Wisdom Middle High School. The camera system kind of died not too long ago, so we're very happy that we can get that back up and running, and then some cleaning supplies as well, and a vehicle for the center here, a pickup truck for the center. So really nice to receive, you know, an extra $75,000, and we put it right to use right in the classrooms where we need it, and we felt that was the best way. While I'm talking about equipment for this center, if you get a chance to go peek in Jackie's office, I let the door open. Vinny's in Madawaska, Vinny's, what's the official? Salvage. We got a notification a few weeks ago that Vinnie's had some office equipment that was available for the taking, free of charge. So we sent a couple of pickups, and I think even Nurse Stephanie went with her SUV, and we loaded up. So we got new desks and really nice office equipment. Here for Jackie, there's 2 desks. We got one for our little office in the back there. There's a couple of desks at Wisdom as well, and some chairs. So really nice equipment. I have some pictures that I'm putting together, a little thank you for Vinnie that I'd like to put in the paper. So that's going to go out pretty soon as well, because all 3 districts took advantage of that equipment. Anytime Vinnie tells us something's available, we're going to go and see what's there.
And for the record, Sharon loves her new setup.
Oh, perfect. Awesome.
And actually, picked up his trailer and brought some stuff down.
Yeah, I went to get my trailer at home and I was delivered. It was good. Got me out of the office.
Okay. Item B, CRM Projects update.
Yeah, just to give you an update, we are moving along with the CRM projects. If you go to Dr. Levac Elementary School, you'll see that there's a new look right when you walk in. There's some beautiful work being done there to redirect where Cheryl's office is going to be, and the safety vestibule there as well, so that Nurse Stephanie can have a little bit more space in her corner. There's some work going on at Wisdom as well with their own safety vestibule. Have they started on any camera equipment or any of that? Right?
No, nothing
Not yet, but that's coming in the pipe as well. So we're trying to get all these CRF projects completed. Lucy did send out a notification earlier this week or last week about tidying up those orders and making sure that's all in, and we've started to submit for our reimbursements, and those have begun coming in as well. So all those projects are going well. We know that we have to have the projects completed by December 30th, but the DOE is allowing contracted services that go beyond December 30. It's okay to let those contractors finish their work before paying them. Don't pay them ahead of time before they're done their work. We can continue into January to do that, and maybe even creep into February, but all reimbursements by the DOE need to be submitted by March 1st. So that's the target date for getting our money back, or the money that's owed to us.
Okay. For the CRF funds, have we received the 2 buses?
The buses are here.
They are here, but they are not licensed.
We are waiting for DATCO to receive the check. Jackie mailed it on the 11th. Actually, it went out Monday. I checked with her. And as soon as they get it, they're going to send me the title, and then at that point, we're going to be able to register them. So we're just
We also have to
waiting.
get a recall. There's a recall on the buses as well too.
It's just a fuel heater. It has a recall. That's all of the Cummins engine buses, and that's going to be taken care of.
So they're diesel, they're not gasoline.
Pardon?
They're diesel?
They are diesel. We also ordered 12 wheels for those 2 buses plus another bus. We're gonna change some of the wheels for winter wear. The wheels came white, which folks didn't truly like, but that was what was offered and that's what was gotten. But Peter Collins in Madawaska has offered to paint them for MSAD33, so that will get done. They will be black, so.
They're really white wheels?
They came white. And I guess it's quite expensive to have gotten the black wheels, but it's okay. We're handling it and
That's fun.
it will be fine.
Okay. Item E, main education assessment information.
This is kind of leaked footage or leaked information, because it's not officially official yet, but as I do sit on that superintendent's panel with the superintendent president, we have been notified by the commissioner that the former state assessment test, so the test that your children take every spring for the MEAs, and they from grades 3 to 8 and grade 11, in the past it was called the Smarter Balance Test, and they tried that for 2 years and they dropped it, and then they moved to a new platform called Cognia. It was called the Empower Me test. They did that for a couple of years as well. Then COVID hit last year. We did not do an MEA. So the DOE took that advantage of that break to throw away Cognia because they really did not like how it pitted one school against another, and classifying schools as an A school, a B school, and so on and so forth. So what they've decided to move towards is the NWEA platform. In this district, we use STAR 360 testing. It's our test that we submit every fall, winter, and spring as a formative assessment. It's progress monitor the kids' progress on ELA and math primarily. NWEA is a competing software that does the same thing. Madawaska Elementary has used NWEA for years. Now, the DOE has said, we will purchase NWEA for all the districts, and we want you to use that as your state assessment every spring. So we're going to continue to use STAR like we have as our progress monitoring tool, but every spring we're going to use this NWEA test, which is very similar to STAR, so we're encouraged that our students are going to know how to use it. It's an assessment that as you answer, it adjusts accordingly based on right or wrong answers. So it's not a one test for all. It's an assessment based on what the child knows, and provide some wonderful data at the end where we can use that to inform our learning. In the past, if you remember, we submit our MEA tests to the state. We don't get that data back until maybe October, November the following year. At that point in time, how are you going to really use that data to inform the learning? This NWEA test, you can print that report as soon as the kid submits it, that report is ready. So we're going to be able to use that as a growth tool. So an announcement should be coming out soon. It's not going to cost the district anything, and we'll be using it for those grade levels as our assessment. Any questions on that?
I see that the SAT is no longer a requirement for high school juniors.
No, the SAT was part of that suite, and now it's going to be optional. If you are, thinking you need to apply to a college that requires an SAT, which is very minimal colleges now that require it, you will offer it, but it won't be a required for all.
Actually, our guidance counselor, Tammy Lipton, was looking into that thing, because we were discussing how that's going to look in the spring. And she did say if students want to take it, it's voluntary. There is a $55 fee, but if you are qualified for a free reduced lunch, it's going to be $8. And we can use part of our MELMAC money to help pay for a couple of spots that students want to take it this spring.
Okay. Next is administrative reports.
Yeah, we do have an attached administrative report from Mr. Fantasia, from Ms. Hallowell, and from Mr. LeBlanc.
I'd like to share something that kind of came out after I did the report. One of our champion girl soccer players from this year was selected a Butch Shaw Award winner, one of the top soccer players in the state, and she's only a sophomore. Her name was Abby Lerner.
Yeah.
Great.
No one from Fort Canada or Madawaska.
How do you have any something to add?
I don't think so.
How about Mr. Lava?
Not at this present time. Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to old business. Second read on policy JICJ, student use of cell phones.
Yeah, so when the girls presented their responsible cell phone use, I had displayed the policy JICJ at that time, and showed that just a small adjustment to item A on the policy would allow for what we proposed. And I know you can't tell in your copy because it doesn't have a separate color, but if you look at that last sentence, the addition is after the comma, after school day, and it says, unless a time has been designated by the building administrator to ensure that student learning is not affected by the technology use, i.e. lunch period. So that would be the only addition to this policy. And because this is the second time you see it, you can approve it with this adjustment.
So, we need to approve the second read of the policy JICJ, student use of cell phone. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to.
Lana, second. Casey? Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. B, Valley Unified update.
This is specific to the mediation that has been scheduled. Mediation is Monday, December 21. So that's next Monday, beginning at 4 p.m. It's going to be a Zoom mediation. They haven't ironed out all the details yet, and so I keep checking in every day, making sure that the information does get shared, at least with Josh Rose, who I believe are going to be the ones mediating for that. Things that I know at this time is that the three lawyers have gone back and forth, not only talking about when this was going to occur, but how it was going to occur. They finally came to a consensus that it will be a Zoom mediation based on the mediator's recommendation. The mediator will be retired Judge Ted Pearson, who is originally from Aroostook County, and so he will be the one mediating. And the attorneys have shared with him that on the table for mediation specifically are going to be discussions about site selection, discussions about Valley Unified governance, and discussions about the ultimate formation of an RSU, or agreeing to move down that path to look at the RSU formation. As we know, that's a whole process within itself, but that is the one thing that is holding up this project, us agreeing to go down that path. Speaking with both boards, prior to speaking with you, Madawaska has shared their thoughts and opinions about what they think is important. SAB 27 as well, and you have as well. I think our positions have not changed. The only thing that remains is and Rose isn't here, so I can convey messages to her based on your discussion tonight. But how is it? Is there anything else you want to share with Josh prior to going into that? Does Josh want you all to be available, maybe via phone or email that night, so that if he and Rose come to a situation where they really need to reach out to you all, and he's nodding his head, so I think that would be a good idea, that he's able to reach out to you guys on an individual basis to say, hey, this is what we're thinking about, this is what we're facing. I think it would be great for you to share your contact information and try to be available if you can, Monday starting at 4, so that he would have that. And then for Josh, it's up to you and Rose if you want to be together for the Zoom mediation. We could set you up here, and you guys could be here together rather than each Zooming in your own universe. So I think that would probably be ideal. Is there anything that you want from us, because we are not participating in this mediation? One of the sticking points that was not getting us a date was the fact that that one attorney was making a recommendation that Valley Unified administration not take part in the mediation. The counter to that was Valley Unified won't take part, but they should be there as a support, in order to provide information. And I think the feeling at least with one board was that the conversations, of course, being confidential, would be better served if Valley Unified administrators were not part of that. Valley Unified administrators are not the decision makers of what's going on. The board members are, which is fine with me. I'll stay home that night, and that's okay. But I think, I don't think anything prevents you from reaching out to me or reaching out to Giselle during that night, Josh and Rose, especially if you have some questions for fact checking. I don't think anything prevents. I won't be privy to what you're discussing, and you won't be able to share with me any discussions that are going on because it is an executive. But I think I think we can provide resources even in advance if you want, and then that's totally up to you guys. Thoughts, Josh?
So yeah, that's all good thoughts. Even if you could email Rose and I all your contact, like a number, so we could, in case we need to talk. It would be nice for Rose and I to be together.
Yeah.
So we could be talking and, because this is not gonna be an easy feat. This is gonna be quite challenging, and I think we all know what we're going into. But as far as we're all concerned, I believe that Rose and I already understand exactly what this board wishes as far as not to touch site selection, we're okay with proportionate voting, and an RSU from 7 to 12, while leaving local control of the elementary schools to the local commissions. Is there anything else? I think those are the three biggest things. The governance, like governance review. Is there anything else?
The only thing right now that needs to be decided at this mediation, like 100%, is the RFC formation, correct?
Yes.
So keeping that in mind, that it's the RFC formation that, because come December 31st, that's our deadline for that particular topic. Everything else could potentially be hashed out afterwards, is that right? If they agree to an RFC, if we all agree.
As long as we don't put ourselves in a predicament that we're saying we're gonna change the site selection.
No, right, don't make any promises, obviously, because that's.
And also another thing is, we're not open to other towns joining Valley Unified at the moment until we give them an RSU, right? Because that's just more moving parts, that's what we had talked about last month.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong if I understood this correctly, but at this point, if these other towns join in now, they cannot make any decisions on anything that is said for this big school anyway, until it's done and over with. So for them to be there, it's just gonna be more moving parts.
Moving parts and more distraction. When we have enough to do with 3 districts to work together, and with the towns we have at the moment, that's what this board.
I mean, those towns have representation in a way from their board members.
Right.
So it's not, well, no, not, we're talking tuition, right?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, grant that.
They're not like Eagle Lake, they want from Eagle Lake.
But, I mean, those people can, whatever.
So
Fair
we're not gonna invite on any other party until the RSU governance is agreed. Is that what that's what we had talked about, yeah, we're still doing that. So. Yeah, well, we're gonna go in there with, very optimistic, and hopefully we can get something done and keep this project rolling. Because that's the last thing I want to do is kill this project. So go up there with.
The last question I have, Josh, is do you think it would be beneficial for you and Rose to meet with Kristin via Zoom beforehand, either on that day or I know it's already Tuesday, but later this week? Do you think it would be something that you guys would just want to conference with her? She may have information about what's been transpiring that she hasn't shared with me.
Are you able to reach out to Rose and find out if she's okay with that? She's the chair.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
But we'll reach out to Rose tomorrow morning. If she's okay with that, I'll try to send it to her. And I'll try to make it, I'll try to reach out to you about your schedule and see what you're looking.
Yeah, whatever information we can get before going into this would be great. But I think we all know what we're going to do. Thank you, Dan. Welcome.
Any other discussion? No. Under new business, retirements.
No retirement.
No retirements. Resignations.
You did see a letter in your packet, resignation from Jeannie Bollier, who was the Ed Tech chair between Wisdom and SJVTC. Jeannie, a position opened up in Madawaska, and Jeannie living in Madawaska took advantage of having to travel, but was really appreciative. Sent an email to the administrators thanking them, and I know that, you know, she didn't leave because she didn't want to be here, just, you know, an opportunity came up, so. We'll make a motion to approve
Josh, second,
Second.
Lana. Any discussion? No, all in favor?
We do have a substitute right now in that position that we're working with and seeing if that will be a fit to bring to you for our next meeting. So it's not a vacancy that's just not filled right now. We do have somebody who's being placed in that position.
Okay. Next is transfers.
No transfers,
New hires.
no new hires. You do have a recommendation in your packet, but we're going to hold on to that recommendation because we are doing a substitute basis right now.
Current openings.
That would be the only current opening for that end position.
Okay.
I can speak on behalf of Mr. Pelletier for athletics. We're still looking for 2 middle school basketball.
Thank you.
Item B, substitute teacher rate of pay.
So in your packet, you have a substitute teacher scale. Right now, the top table is what we're using. A non-degree person starts at $85 a day. A 2-year degree person with 90, bachelor degree 95, and then a retired or certified teacher, we're paying $100 a day. And if they take a sub-skills program, which is a 7-hour online substitute teacher class, they get an additional $5 above their scale. What we're proposing, because on January 21, the minimum wage in Maine does go from $12 to $12.15, which means that somebody working 7 hours would earn $85.05. So our scale, the bottom of our scale, is a little bit short. Instead of bumping everyone up 5 cents, we just decided to bump everyone up $1. So go $86.91, $96.101. We'd like to keep the #1 incentive with the sub-skills training at $5 more a day. But we'd also like to also include some longevity incentives, and say that after a sub is with us 40 days, we'd like to bump them up $5 for sticking with us. You know, substitute teaching is not for everyone, and God bless those people who want to stay with us. So I think $5 more for, you know, staying with us 40 days is well worth it. And then if they pass 80 days, we bump that $10 an hour, just as a way to try to incentivize and retain our substitutes. We love new substitutes as well. So we're going to be looking for ways to maybe put together another, you know, substitute teacher workshop, if you will, or some kind of, you know, way to just bring them in. But for the ones that we have, we want to hold on to it, where we're thinking an incentive will hopefully help us out. We'd also like to give them a free school lunch when they're working. We think that that's probably something that might help as well. Mr. Fantasia talked about, you know, shoulder rubs. I don't know if that's yeah, HR is against that, so we're working out the details. But yeah, probably not. So we'd like to, you know, present this to you and have you hopefully approve the $1 an hour increase, as well as allow us to use the incentives to try to retain ourselves.
And do you mean a day when you say $5 an hour on a scale of $10 an hour? Do you mean
Excuse
a day?
me, it is a day, sorry. Yes,
Okay.
$5 a day. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to substitute teacher.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, we presented this to this is the third board, and it's the first time we picked up, so.
Oh.
Nice work. It is a day.
Okay. Before that gets put in anybody's
Well,
contract.
except in the other 2 districts that approved it, it's an hour.
That's it. One that lost it 4 times.
I guess if you want to sub, go there.
Yeah, it will be a day at all.
Okay, with that being presented, need a recommendation to approve the substitute teacher rate of pay increase as presented. In a motion,
I'll make a motion.
Lana, Second? Josh, any discussion? Being no discussion in favor? Motion carried. Next is the new C, MSAD33 bullying policy.
So I did want to share with you what we have in place for a bullying policy in the district, and kind of give you a little bit of background to this policy. 2017, the main Department of Education had a really big rally around bullying. Bullying was the buzz at that time. It still is. Prior to COVID, I think it was the biggest buzz. Bullying is unfortunately something we're always going to be looking into and talking about. But at that time, the department put out a really comprehensive template for districts to adopt with regards to bullying. So if every district is in compliance, which they pretty much have to be, you would see this exact policy put in place in every district across the state of Maine. And it's quite comprehensive because aside from having a policy, which you'll read from pages 1 to 5, which is the general policy that has the definitions and that type of thing, it goes on beyond that with forms that are very, very prescriptive and they help administrators through the process of what they need to do. So if you go ahead to the first form on JICK, which is E1, you'll see that E1 is the bully reporting form. And the reporting form essentially is for whoever's reporting that bullying is occurring. It might be a teacher that's filling this out. It might be a student filling this out. It might be a parent. It might be a grandmother. It might be the administrator because somebody has gone to them to report the bullying. Whoever is reporting the bullying would fill out this form, or the administrator would do it on their behalf, so that we have a record of what has occurred. Moving from E1, you go to E2, which is the investigation and response form. Every administrator who has an incident of bullying reported to them must complete an investigation and make a determination for a response specific to that. So during this process, it's literally an investigation. You are taking witnesses, you're talking to them, you're asking them if they want to remain confidential. Sometimes it's adults, sometimes it's children. So it's really comprehensive and it goes through the whole process. And if you look through it, it's a 7-page investigation. Principals love it. It's a lot of fun. You're eating up a good part of the day doing one of these, if not days, if it's a larger incident that has occurred with many players involved. So that goes through, and then you'll see on page 5 of 7, actions taken by the principal. So what did the principal do if they determined that it was a substantiated form of bullying? And some of them are disciplinary, and some of them are alternative, which are more response to intervention type consequences, where we're trying to build the relationship instead of just putting a kid in detention for what has happened. The biggest and most important part of this is making a determination about what has happened. So the principal is tasked with making that final determination of, was this bullying or was this not bullying? And you can see the attachments. I mean, you have a flow chart that's kind of helping them guide through this and whatnot. Every quarter, the principals must submit a report to the DOE on substantiated bullying that has occurred in their school. So anytime that their investigation has led to, yep, this was bullying, they've got to submit that to the DOE on a quarterly basis so that the DOE can compile all this data. And when they do the district dashboard snapshots, that bullying data is in there as well. I've been with you 2 years. I don't think I have done one substantiated, or have we done one? We've done one in 2 years. A substantiated form of bullying. Most of the time, what do these result as principals when you investigate bullying?
It's, a lot of it is, it's a lot of back and forth between two kids at the time.
It's disagreements, it's bothering, it's not the definition of bullying what it is. Now, if you ask every kid in school, have you ever been bullied? 100% of them will say yes, right? And if you ask them, have you ever bullied anyone? 100% of them will say no, right? So we have 0 bullies, but everyone's getting bullied. And I think it's because the education around what bullying is the piece that we're probably not clicking on really, really well. Not only for the kids, but for their parents and for their grandparents who love them with their whole heart. And, you know, everyone's getting bullied. There is bullying. I don't want to paint a picture that there's not bullying. There is bullying. But the isolated events of bullying are so minor compared to disagreements, to that type of thing that I don't believe we have a bullying problem, especially in these schools here. I do think, though, that we do have an educating problem where we're not really doing a good job. So one thing that I asked Tracy, who manages our webpage, if you look on the screen, I hope this is still working. Let me wait this up. On our MSAD33 webpage, this is the webpage here. I've asked her right on the home page, where she has some different links here, to put a link for bullying reporting. And we're going to be educating our staff, who will be in turn talking to our kids about this link here. When you click on that link here, it takes you to a digital version of form JICKE1, which is the bully reporting form. So this form right here that's in paper, anybody can do it on their phone, on their laptop, anonymously. They don't have to go down to the school to find this policy. It's right there. And we're hoping that getting the word out to folks about bullying, that we have this reporting system, people will take advantage of it, and we'll be able to work on a case-by-case basis so that people aren't running into you all at the store or saying, you know, my kid's getting bullied, or this is bullying episode is happening. Your board members, and you're helpless at that time, you know, to find answers, and that's not a place that you should be in. So as a district, we want to get more education around this, get education around what bullying is, so that we have informed parents about the steps they need to take if this is happening, because the best people to help them are the administrators here and the teachers that love them and work with them every day. So we're hoping that that's going to be something that we can move forward with and build some competency around, because we do want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard. We don't want to push anyone who's saying my child is being bullied away. We want to make sure they say, okay, this is the steps you need to take, and we'll take it from here. The nice thing about these forms too is, you know, as part of the report, the investigation and response, you've got to follow up with all parties. You've got to follow up with the alleged bully. You've got to follow up with the person who has been bullied. You have to follow up with the witnesses. And so it's really good, and everyone gets that back and forth. The only thing that's not shared, obviously, is the consequences are not shared with all parties. They're obviously shared with, if bullying did happen, it's shared with that family. But you know, we typically don't tell everyone that this is what's happened with that child. So I did want to share that with you, and this comes from a concern from one of you all, that you know that you know, bullying may be occurring in the district. Absolutely, it may be, but we have to really work towards educating and making sure that we know. I feel good that this district has this policy in place, the way that the department, you know, intended it to. I think that by taking it a step up and making it accessible to everyone, right flat on our webpage, and we'll get that message out, I think is going to help so that people can know that the avenues to take.
Yeah, you had said something, that I've been approached by a parent as well. Then that parent actually went to speak to Ralph. Because there was a student that was getting their food taken away and
It becomes very challenging when we have a student or a couple of students that are behaviorally challenged. And it's hard for other kids to recognize that, and it's not that they should have to, but when a child interrupts the world of many children, that quickly spreads between parents who, hey, my kid has the same problem with this, and so that becomes very challenging, and especially when it's children who have diagnosis and IEPs, it becomes very delicate in dealing with that, because you can only tell folks so much before you're invading the privacy of another child. But I assure you that that even our most challenging ones we're working with, and we're trying all the bag of tricks that we have. Mr. Fantasia's bag of tricks is getting pretty large, because we keep trying new things, but some kiddos need extra love and care, if you will. Is that helpful? So I would encourage you as board members to tell people, hey, there's a link right on the district webpage. You should file that report, and then we start the process and we start gathering that. Sorry, principal, we'll probably just give you more work, but I think we need to do those type of things in order.
this is good, it gives us an avenue of where to go, because I just sent those parents to the principal.
Yep.
Which is the stuff that you're supposed to do.
Yeah, so once this is submitted, the form comes right to me, and then I distribute to whoever needs to see it. And then it's as simple as that.
And if I can attest, I went through the form itself today, or I sent it out to staff. It's not just 33, all Valley Unified Schools, are a link off of that.
Yeah, this is for all.
That's right.
I have an other, if there's room for another in the agenda.
Okay.
Other. So I got a notification on my phone that we put in 2 years ago, that we have some CDs expiring, and I don't have the date. I don't know if they're expiring in December, January, or February.
There's some that expired, either this summer or this fall.
Yeah.
And Jackie followed up on it, and the institution recommended, because of the interest rates at this time, to just roll them over to the money market for now. That's the best place for them, so that's where she put it.
Okay. Because I had in here, it doesn't say when, but school board CDs expiring at Acadia, Key Bank, and TD Bank. So I don't know if those are like January or February, and
I can check the dates, I don't have it right in front of me, but
okay, yeah, I was just wondering, so I think we put it in there, just wondering if we were going to renew. Do you remember that? Were you on the board then?
Yeah, actually, I have all that information at home.
You too,
the interest rates right now are pitiful. But yeah, it's, so even if you do renew, you're gonna renew for short term or long term at those rates. But the money market's gonna, at least you're getting something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not touching those.
Any other discussion? Anything anybody want to bring up? No?
What's that?
Any other discussion? Any motion to adjourn? Lana? Second, Josh? All in favor?